We're joined today by author Jane Eisner. We're talking about her latest book, Carole King, She Made the Earth Move. Jane, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
It's great to be speaking with you. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Well, Jane, you've got a new book out here, Carole King, She Made the Earth Move. Can you tell the listeners a bit about the new book?
Yes, thank you. Well, this is what we call an interpretive biography, published by Yale University Press. That means that I didn't have to tell about her life in incredible detail from the time she was born until now. Instead, I really focused on what I think made her so consequential. Her upbringing in Brooklyn, what made her songs so special, the way she transformed from a songwriter, a composer, to a performer. And that was the joy of doing this, because I feel like I was able to focus on what I think is important about her life, and I hope it's what readers will relate to.
Well, you've done a lot for journalism in your career, and you've interviewed presidents and prime ministers. What is it that led you to writing a book about Carole King? Have you always been a fan of hers?
I have. I was a fan starting in 1971 when Tapestry was released. I love the music. You know, she was from Brooklyn. I was from the Bronx. I related to that. And I followed her music well beyond that. I think there were albums that followed Tapestry that were terrific and often get overlooked. And so I've been a fan for a long time. I saw the musical Beautiful. I went to her concerts. And then when I had the opportunity to write this, I just jumped at it because it was something that has really followed me all my life.
Well, and I've heard of method acting, but you sort of went with a method writing approach here, learning the piano to get a better handle on her music and maybe her mind frame. That's something I've not heard of before.
Yes, well, I just said to myself, if I'm writing about a musician who's written these songs, I should get a sense of what it's like to play them. My analogy was, if I were writing about an airline pilot, I should at least understand what it's like to fly an airplane. I would never do that. I'd be scared of doing that. But in this case, it was close to me. I have a piano. I have some of her music already. And then I sat down to try to play it, and wow, I couldn't. And so that's why I decided to take lessons. And it really made me understand her musical genius.
It does seem, when you delve into it a little closer, on the surface, maybe the songs kind of sound like maybe just simple pop songs, but really there seems to be a lot to them when you get down to it.
Oh, you're exactly right. And that's what I wanted listeners to come away with. There's a complexity in her chords, in the transitions, in the mood that she creates that I didn't really appreciate until I started looking at them with greater detail. And I think that's also what makes her music so special. It may be deceptive, but it really was groundbreaking in many ways.
And we all know Carole King's music. I think my favorite part of her story is the music that she wrote for other artists. I knew some of the songs she wrote, but it's really amazing to see how many of them there actually were when you see them all on paper. Yes,
absolutely. She is representative of what's called the Brill Building era. It came from the name of a building just near Times Square that is still existing now. And what happened in the late 1950s, early 1960s is that was where the music for popular culture, for teenagers, was written. And in these buildings, there were just little cubicles, and generally a pair of musicians would be in each cubicle. There was always a piano there, probably a small upright piano. And in this case, that's where Carole King and her first husband, Jerry Goffin, composed so many of their songs. But it was all like a factory, There was one person who wrote the music, another person who wrote the lyrics, then another person who produced it, then another person who performed it. And that characterized that era. What's so amazing about her is that she was able to transition from that era to what's called the singer-songwriter era, when people actually performed their own songs. And the heart of that was in Laurel Canyon in California. And she was really the only one to make that transition from the way popular music was created and performed in one era to actually the next era.
Definitely. Again, Jane Eisner is with us, and we're talking about her new book, Carole King, She Made the Earth Move. It's amazing how many artists and musicians really gained popularity from her songs. It makes you wonder how different things would have been if maybe she had kept all these songs for herself and released them on her own albums.
Well, in the beginning, when she and Goffin were really getting their start and accelerating the quality of their music, several of the famous songs were actually written for the people who performed them. So Will You Love Me Tomorrow was written for the Shirelles, which was a group of women, black women, who recorded that song. It's really terrific the way they did it. And that just shot up the charts to number one. And You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman was actually written for Aretha Franklin. And as everybody knows, that recording is just iconic. So there was a period when the songs were actually written for other performers. Sometimes King and Goffin knew who the performers were, like in the two cases I mentioned, and other times it was up to the producer to find the performers.
I think that really says a lot about her talent and her skill for, a Jewish woman from New York to be able to write these songs for, a black woman from the South and make it sound like it was actually from her and, had the same feeling that she might have had. It's definitely something that not a lot of people could pull off.
Oh, I so agree with you. And that song in particular, I think, has what we call a church cadence. The chords really make you feel, and that was their genius, to be able to create that feeling, and without maybe a listener even noticing it, but there it is for you to enjoy.
And you mentioned it earlier, Jane, the Tapestry album. That's really the one, I guess, that everybody kind of points to when they think of Carole King. I didn't really put two and two together until I realized how many of her big songs really were on that album. It was really shot up the charts there in a big way.
Yes, it's true. I mean, it was the best-selling album for many, many years. I do think that is what makes that album unique. There are plenty of new songs on it, songs that she wrote herself and songs that she wrote with her collaborator, Tony Stern. But then there are also, as we might say, the greatest hits from the era when she was writing songs with Jerry Goffin. So we just mentioned Natural Woman and Up on the Roof, for example. Those were songs that had already been released and recorded by other artists. So, Tapestry is an amalgam of music from these different parts of her life. And I think that's one of the reasons it's had such lasting appeal. But I do want to make a plug for some of the other albums that followed that. Music, which was released later that year in December 19th, Rhymes and Reasons, Wraparound. There were a lot of really good albums after that. Then her music, I think, was not so memorable. But she gets credit for not only creating Tapestry, but also continuing with her music, in some cases experimenting with it. It didn't always work, but she really wanted to try to grow and reach those audiences anew.
Yeah, it is incredible the career she had and continues to have. And, the music would have been more than enough, but she also went into acting and then the Broadway, activism with the environment and the politics. I mean, she's really done a little of everything here.
Yes, she has. I mean, it's also important to mention that she spent, a couple of decades really out of the public eye. She lived in a remote area of Idaho, and at some point actually was in a community that was off the grid. She pumped her own water and milked the goat, and she was living there with her fourth husband and two of her children. And I think that was her statement of wanting to get away from the spotlight in New York and Los Angeles and to craft a different kind of life for herself. And she still actually makes her base in Idaho, though not off the grid. And, I think that's what also makes her story so interesting. If it was just a straight line between fame and then not fame, it wouldn't be as interesting. She's very human. There's different stages in which she lives different kinds of lives.
Well, Jane, I know the book is just out here, but is there something else maybe that you have coming up or anything you're working on we should be watching out for?
Oh, thank you. You're so kind. Well, honestly, promoting this book is now become my full-time job, but I do do some work with nonprofits, do some teaching, and I continue to write book reviews occasionally for the Washington Post and try to do some other freelancing. But right now, it's pretty much Carole King all the time.
Well, it's definitely a fascinating story and something that Carole King fans will enjoy and something that'll definitely create some new fans of Carole King. And Jane, thank you again for your time. It's been great, and I hope we can speak again sometime.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Again, that was Jane Eisner. Her latest book, Carole King, She Made the Earth Move, is out now.